Acceleration often hides instability. Civilizations that rise too quickly rarely endure. Markets that inflate too rapidly seldom remain intact. And families who multiply wealth without structure often discover that gain without rhythm dissolves just as swiftly as it appeared. The Torah understands this pattern with unusual clarity. It does not praise rapid accumulation. It does not glorify sudden fortune. It does not construct heroes around explosive gain. Instead, it speaks in the language of seed, rain, waiting, and return. To modern readers conditioned by velocity, this restraint can feel unremarkable. But within the ancient Near East, where conquest, plunder, and sudden spoil defined prestige, the Torah's silence regarding fast wealth is deliberate. It is not accidental omission. It is a principle. This is a historical investigation into that principle. 1. The agricultural foundation. Ancient Israel was not structured around imperial extraction. It was agrarian. Its economic imagination was seasonal. Rain arrived in early and latter cycles. Wheat matured gradually. Olive trees required years before producing meaningful yield. Vineyards demanded patience before wine could be pressed in abundance. The Torah repeatedly situates blessing within these rhythms. If you walk in my statutes, I will give your rains in their season. In their season. Not immediately, not suddenly, not in excess, in rhythm. The covenantal promise is framed agriculturally, not commercially. Yield is described as increase from planted ground, not as windfall from speculative opportunity. The structure itself communicates suspicion toward acceleration, because in agriculture, acceleration distorts ecology. Too much rain floods. Too much sun scorches. Too rapid growth weakens roots. The Torah adopts the logic of soil as its economic metaphor. 2. The first law of seed and bread. In Deuteronomy 8, a subtle warning appears. Lest you say in your heart, my power and the might of my hand have gotten me this wealth. The concern is not wealth itself. Wealth is acknowledged. Prosperity is anticipated, but the text emphasizes process over possession. The Israelites are reminded that manna fell daily, not stored indefinitely. Fields required cultivation. Harvest required labor. Provision came through sustained engagement, not sudden surplus. There is a distinction embedded in rabbinic thought, often summarized as the difference between seed and bread. Seed is potential. Bread is consumption. If seed is consumed as bread, the future collapses. If bread is mistaken for seed, hunger follows. The Torah's economic ethic assumes that every harvest contains both. Some portion must return to soil. The law of gleaning requires corners of fields to remain unharvested. The sabbatical year interrupts continuous production. Jubilee resets long-term accumulation. These are breaks. Breaks within an economy suggest awareness of acceleration risk. 3. Abraham's wealth, slow and structured. Abraham becomes wealthy. The text states plainly that he is very rich in livestock, silver, and gold. Yet the narrative does not dramatize sudden fortune. His wealth grows alongside migration, alliances, negotiation, and covenant. It expands through flocks multiplying and through trade networks formed over time. When he acquires spoils from battle in Genesis 14, he refuses to keep the king of Sodom's goods. He accepts only what is necessary. This is a subtle moment. He avoids wealth that arrives without rootedness. He refuses acceleration tied to dependency or reputational compromise. The Torah does not condemn spoil categorically, but it does show restraint from wealth that emerges too quickly and binds too tightly. 4. Joseph in Egypt, controlled accumulation. Joseph administers Egypt's grain economy during famine. The narrative could easily celebrate rapid centralization of resources. Instead, it emphasizes foresight and storage. 7 years of abundance are not consumed in exuberance. They are preserved methodically. Granaries are built. Distribution is calculated. The acceleration occurs in crisis, but the preparation is slow. Joseph does not invent wealth. He manages cycles. The Torah's admiration lies not in the scale of Egypt's accumulation, but in Joseph's disciplined interpretation of time. He reads agricultural rhythm correctly. 5. Proverbs and the suspicion of sudden gain. The book of Proverbs articulates the principle directly. Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. This is not poetic exaggeration, it is economic observation. The Hebrew phrasing suggests vapor-like gain, wealth that appears quickly and evaporates. The contrast is incremental gathering, little by little. The Torah and wisdom literature do not oppose prosperity, they oppose instability disguised as success. Because sudden gain often bypasses discipline, and discipline is the stabilizer of inheritance. 6. The sabbatical year, engineered slowness. Every 7th year, fields were to lie fallow. From a purely economic standpoint, this appears counterintuitive. Why interrupt productivity voluntarily? Because constant acceleration exhausts soil. The sabbatical year enforces pause. It redistributes reliance. It reminds landowners that yield is not entirely self-generated. More importantly, it prevents the mindset of relentless extraction. An economy that cannot stop will eventually fracture. The Torah builds stoppage into its system. It is easier to understand modern burnout through this lens. Growth without pause appears impressive until exhaustion surfaces. Ancient Israel embedded rest within its wealth model. 7. The psychological dimension. Acceleration alters perception. When wealth arrives quickly, individuals attribute causation to themselves disproportionately. Cognitive bias intensifies. Risk appetite increases. Memory shortens. The Torah anticipates this psychological drift. Beware lest your heart grow haughty. Sudden gain fuels haughtiness. Slow growth cultivates humility because effort and contingency remain visible. Rain can fail, crops can wither. Labor does not guarantee outcome. The agricultural model keeps uncertainty present. Fast wealth often conceals fragility. In agrarian life, fragility is always visible. 8. Misreading biblical blessing. Many assume that biblical blessing implies rapid prosperity. Yet when blessings are described, they are seasonal. Grain multiplies, vineyards produce wine, herds increase. Multiplication through reproduction is gradual. The Hebrew word for blessing, barakah, shares root resonance with kneeling. It implies alignment, not explosion. There is no celebration of speculative surge. Even when Solomon's wealth is described extensively, the narrative quickly transitions to warning. His accumulation leads to political strain and eventual division of the kingdom. Sudden expansion without parallel spiritual discipline destabilizes. The text does not present this as punishment theatrically. It presents it as consequence. 9. The manna model. In the wilderness, manna falls daily. It cannot be hoarded beyond instruction. Attempts to store excess result in spoilage. This is not merely miracle narrative, it is economic pedagogy. Daily provision discourages speculative stockpiling. Trust operates in measured intervals. The lesson is subtle. Dependence on sudden surplus erodes discipline. When the Israelites later enter the land, agriculture replaces manna. but rhythm remains. 10. The danger of windfall. Windfall wealth lacks embedded memory. When land yields slowly, children observe planting, waiting, harvesting. They internalize cause and effect. When gain arrives abruptly, the narrative compresses. The process becomes invisible. Invisible process weakens generational transmission. The Torah's concern is not envy of success, it is erosion of memory, because covenantal identity depends on remembered process. 11. Rabbinic extensions. Later rabbinic literature expands this suspicion. The Talmud warns against business practices that promised extraordinary return without clear labor.